Hi, I'm Ricky Allen,
And I'm Cathy Griffith,
and welcome to another one of our webinars.
our real estate conversation. And we're talking about first-time home buyers today.
We love this topic.
Yes.
We look at the people
They're
listening
they're dear to me.
they can't see the grin on your face. Yeah, we do love working with first-time home buyers. There's something very rewarding about it, isn't it?
It's really a special time because they're so excited. I mean, this is their first big purchase probably in their life.
Yeah.
And they're always going to remember it. And hopefully always remember the person who helped them buy their house. And that's why we want to make it such a great experience for them.
And without giving away how old I am, I always gravitate towards one of them being my kids, because they're usually, these kids in their 20s and 30s are my kids' age, and so helping them, I feel like assisting one of my kids, and
That's the job of a dad, right?
Right.
Helping out.
Well, especially when you're in the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the first things I like to talk to with our first-time home buyers is just give them a whole overview of the process.
Right.
And
Because there's a lot of moving pieces.
there's a lot of moving parts, and many of us that are in the business and have bought homes before, either personally or we're professionals, we take for granted the whole process.
Right, and how overwhelming it could be.
And how overwhelming, and even to this day, as much as I try and be sensitive to and focus on the fact that we are dealing with first-time home buyers, even to the day, I still get surprised by what I assume somebody knew, and I say to myself, well, I should not assume that.
Right.
And so I like to talk about the whole process, right from the get-go, and the first thing that I think buyers need to do, and this is for anybody, but a lot of first-time home buyers don't realize this, and that is to figure out how much house they can afford.
Right.
And that conversation can be with a financial advisor, it can be with a family mentor, be somebody they trust, and then certainly it should be with a lender. And we give the names of several good local lenders to our first-time home buyers. We have them have a conversation with them, right?
Right, and why we like working with local lenders is, we've got a relationship with those lenders, so that transfers to our client, having a relationship. So they're not just going to be some number at some 1-800 mortgage company and just get kind of lost in the system and lost in the shuffle. The relationships we've built with our lenders translate into our lenders taking good care of our clients, and that's important.
Right, exactly. And a lot of times the first-time home buyers, and rightfully so, because they've not gone down this road before, when they're figuring out how much house they can afford, they forget about some of the other expenses that come with the home. Not only is there the principal and interest payment that their lender will discuss with them, there's the taxes, insurance, and then the general maintenance of a home.
Right.
And I always tell that the first-time home buyers, you're going to have to figure some maintenance fund on that home before you get into it. And the Real Estate Commission forbids us from being financial advisors, so we walk that fine line. But we do try and point them in the right direction. And then they need to find a broker, and at that point they're talking with us, so we hope that we are their broker. We would love to be their broker, but certainly in the process for first-time home buyers is talk to one or two or three brokers and see who you're comfortable with.
You should definitely interview a couple.
Yeah.
And see where the connection is, and see who you feel is going to take the best care of you.
Yeah, I think a lot of mistakes are made by first-time home buyers because they lump all the brokers together in one pool, and not that it necessarily is us, but all brokers aren't created equal.
Right, just like any other profession. There are ones that are the cream of the crop, and
many times I see first-time home buyers gravitate or select a broker because it's either a family friend or because they ran into them in the grocery store or some friend recommended them, and those brokers that got recommended aren't even in the business really full time.
Right.
So do your due diligence, and this is not we're not pumping ourselves here. I mean, this sincerely, do your due diligence and interview a couple and find a broker that you really hit it off with.
Because they're going to be taking care of you and your money.
Right, exactly. Another issue for first time, or another topic I like to talk with first time home buyers about, because many don't know about how their brokers compensated. Buyers brokers are compensated.
Good point.
And for the most part, it certainly isn't etched in stone this way, but for the most part, buyers brokers are compensated by the listing broker.
By the sellers.
By the sellers, and the sellers had signed a listing agreement with the listing broker, and in that listing agreement with the listing broker, it instructs them to split the commissions in some form with the buyer's broker. So a buyer is not paying those the commissions, and a lot of the first-time home buyers don't realize that, and they want to know what their fees are for our services and that. So we explain that the whole compensation.
And it doesn't cost the buyers anything to work with us.
Right. So speaking of lenders for first-time home buyers, we want them to get pre-qualified, or even better, pre-approved.
Correct.
And many of the first-time home buyers don't understand that whole process, and we point them in the direction of several good lenders. Pre-approval is the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-qualification is the first step. I'm sorry. Pre-approval is what comes after that. Pre-approval is better. Pre-qualification usually does not need documentation for a lender to pre-approve. It's usually a conversation that
about salary and assets.
Yeah, assets, income, expenses. And pre-approval is a step beyond that, and it's much stronger, and that usually does require documentation. They will do a hard inquiry on a credit line, so you want to talk to your lender about that, because that can affect your credit score. So
Correct.
You don't want to get pre-approved if you're not serious, but if you are serious, you definitely want to get pre-approved, and we'll leave that to a lender.
Why that's important is we submit that with the purchase agreement, and it makes the buyer's offer stronger.
Exactly.
The seller knows that they can actually afford this house.
Exactly. Another, for first-time home buyers, another thing that I find very important is for us to know the market, and really understand what the purchase price should be, to know what the comps are, to know the average days on the market.
Yes, because that way we can guide them during what to offer, and then the negotiations.
Yeah. And then the whole purchase agreement transaction process. Many first-time home buyers don't understand this. They've never been through it, obviously, because they're first-time buyers. But, to talk about the purchase agreement, we spend a lot of time. I was here about a month ago till about 10 o'clock at night. It took me 4 hours to go through the purchase agreement with buyers, because we went through it paragraph by paragraph. Right. And many buyers, they want to know exactly what they're signing, and our role is to go through that with them.
And answer all their questions.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be when we're making the offer.
Right.
You want to talk about why that's important.
Yeah, we go through the purchase agreement, prior to actually making an offer. It's usually the first meeting we have with them, just so they understand how things work in New Mexico, because every state's different.
Right.
And we just explain to them the whole process. And
while we're talking about the purchase agreement, we talk about the process of inspections, and all of these things that first-time home buyers have never gone through before: inspections and surveys and title commitments. And
right.
There's a lot to it, and a lot of this is just foreign to our first-time home buyers.
And there's a variety of inspections that we can,
right.
Provide feedback on, whether they need to invest in a radon inspection or what have you.
Yeah.
And then we've got a great resource on our team. Laura Scripps is our business manager, and so she works very closely with our buyers to make sure that all their documentation is coming in on time to get things signed. She's kind of
Deadlines.
Deadlines.
Yep.
She becomes their right hand person.
Yep.
So for all you first time home buyers out there, we'd be more than happy to work with you and guide you through this process, right, Ricky?
And we enjoy it. We would enjoy it. Thanks.